Hello my dear HRs, welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing everything about HR audit. This topic is not spoken very often about. I'm not sure why, but it is such a crucial part of a HR's job, because if any HR audits report goes out negative, it can severely impact a HR's job, obviously, and the organization's reputation as well. So make sure you pay really close attention to whatever we are going to discuss in today's video. On that note, let's get started. So let's start by defining HR audit. HR audit simply means to check the work that HR's are supposed to do, that HR team is designated to do. Are they doing it well, and are they doing it on time? So it is a very vigorous check where every tiny detail of HR team's work is checked. Even how they have kept information in their laptop is also checked. Laptop which is given by the company for the company's work. So every detail is checked. So basically there are two types of audits. One is internal HR audit and another one is external HR audit. So let's talk about internal HR audit first, and then we'll move on to external HR audit. So internal HR audit is done by a person who is from the company itself. Company's management basically designate a person or maybe a team of 2-3 person who does this audit maybe twice a year or maybe thrice a year or maybe once a year. It depends on how much frequency they want for the checks, but it is done by a person who is an insider, who is in the company, is the employee of the company, not necessarily a part of HR team, but is an employee of the same company. So now you might be thinking, what is the requirement of an internal HR audit? I mean, does it even make sense? The person who is auditing, he or she is from the same company, then it will not be very fruitful. No guys, those people are designated employees for the audit and they do it very strictly. And the reason why companies appoint those internal auditor is because so that they can timely check their performances, or in case there is any miss or bias or something which is not timely done, it can be corrected at the right time before an external audit. So that's the whole purpose, to basically make the whole process more strict so that people can correct their mistakes before it's out in the public and company has to pay for it. In external audit, there are two kind of audits. One is where the company itself hires a third party audit company. For example, PwC is mostly hired, or KPMG. So companies like those are hired by the company itself. The management hires that third party to do the audit inside their company and submit the report to the management, so that management can see an unbiased report of how the HR team is performing, if all the process and policies are well aligned, if all the compliance is followed, all of that stuff. Now another second type of external audit is when it is done by government officials. Now that external audit is very scary and is not very well informed, as in you will not have much time before your audit. It can be all of a sudden like a surprise audit as well. While the third party audits are majority of the time are kind of informed audits. I mean, you know the date beforehand, maybe a week or so, that the audit might happen in this week, or the exact date also is shared. But the audits from the government officials are not very well informed in advance. And the things that they check majority of the time, number one is the PF compliance, your tax regulations, if they are followed well, if a company is giving you some sort of tax declaration form, so all of that how well the employees are submitting the proofs of the tax declaration or any other tax exemption that they are taking. So government officials check all of that, including the onboarding forms as well. Every state in India have their own regulations and requirement when it comes to onboarding an employee. There are certain set forms which a company is required to keep filled by the employee, whoever is joining new. So the government officials check all of that. If all the employee files have all those forms, it can be related to gratuity, it can be related to benefits as well, it can be related to beneficiary declaration, if something happens to employee, the compensation reaches whom, all of that stuff. So that is checked to very minute details, and there is no scope of error that is accommodated at that level, because if there is anything, then obviously the company will get a challan for that, and then company will have to pay that money to government. So that's very strict. Now, as I mentioned earlier also in this video, HR audits also include audits of HR people's system, the laptop, etc. that they have. That is done to check if the communication that is happening or the information that is floating in the systems is as per the compliance, as all the privacy policy of the company are followed, so that the information of all employees is intact and is not leaked. Plus to also check if there is any kind of fishy communication or any message that is indicating towards any kind of biasness or retaliation or anything of that sort, which is basically a breach of policy which the HR is not allowed to do, or maybe they have shared a piece of information which they are not allowed to, something on those lines. And also what you are using your system for, or what kind of things you access on the system, all of that stuff goes into HR audit. Basically, once your laptop is with the auditor, they can check it all, your emails, communications, your messages on chat, and the files that you have stored. Also, most of the bigger MNCs have this policy of storing employees' data at a designated place. It cannot be stored locally in the systems of HR. Even if they have downloaded the information, say for example any offer letter or any agreement, any contract letter for some use, they are supposed to destroy that once they put it on the designated area, any local cloud platform of the company or any other place where the company prefers to store employees' data, or basically the HRIS. So all these norms are to be followed by the HR team so that they can successfully get a green card in the HR audit. And next point to note about HR audit is that it's not a one-time thing. HR audits are periodical, they are recurring. The frequency might be different for every company basis on how they like it, how the management has decided it. It can be once a year, or as I said, twice a year, or maybe once every quarter. And as I said, for government audits, it's never planned. You never know when it's going to happen and how many times it's going to happen. If there is a repeated issue with the PF remittance every month, which PF officials have identified with your company, then it's most likely that they will visit or do the PF audit for your company. If everything is going seamlessly, then it's not very often. I mean, it's not like they come and visit every quarter. It can be once in a while, maybe once a year, or maybe once in 2-3 years, you never know. But the more issues company run into which are related to PF and taxes and submitting all the forms, the more likely it is that your company will get an audit by the government officials, that's for sure. And now let's understand how auditors do the HR audit. Number one, they see employee files. They might say a name of any employee randomly, and you have to then pull out the file of that employee and show it to the auditor. They can ask for 9-10 files or maybe more if the organization is huge. Randomly, they'll just say the name and you will have to produce the file. They will check each form, each document of that employee in the file, whether it is there or not. If it is not, obviously it's a strike. If everything is good, it's a green card. Number two, they also interview HR team members, different HR team members, just to check everybody is on the same page and not that everybody is telling a different story about each process. So they do that. Number three, they also interact with the employees, not the HR team, the other employees of the company, to understand how they perceive all the HR processes and policies. Are they happy with it, not happy with it? If there's any feedback they want to pass on. Number four, they even run surveys to understand what's the pulse of the employees. And number five, on-site observation, where they'll just spend a day on the floor to see how employees are working and if anybody is breaching the policy, if they are breaching the policy, why they are doing so, and if they do not have a fair understanding or they did not get proper training on that thing. So stuff like that, they'll try to observe how everything is flowing and if HR is doing their part like 100% of it, or is there any lag. So auditors use mainly these common 5 ways to do their findings about the HR audit, and then they finally make the report with whatever their findings are. And the last thing that you must know, that HR audit is something which is every HR person's job. It's not like there's a different function for HR audit who will take care that every other person in the HR team is complying to all the policies and processes. No. Getting a green card in HR audit is every HR's job. That's how it is. If it is not a green card because of one HR employee, obviously that HR team member will get it reflected in their performance report card, but also it becomes a red flag for the entire HR team. The management then will question the whole HR team that where the lag was, why the lag was there, and why the processes were not followed, and they will ask an explanation for it, which is not a very great situation to be in. And also they will ask for a document which is called RCA, which is root cause analysis, where the HR manager then has to make a whole document kind of report explaining what went wrong, why it went wrong, and who is taking the responsibility of that, what's the consequences, and then what are the next steps to correct it or to avoid it. So the best thing is to avoid the red flags as much as you can in your HR audit reports. Otherwise, it will increase the work of whole HR team exponentially. So guys, that was it. That was some brief information that I wanted to share with you all regarding HR audit. And if you still have any queries related to this topic, you can leave that in the comment section. I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. With that, we came to the end of this video. You keep on watching more content on the HR destination to be a successful HR professional. And I'll see you in my next video. Till then, stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye.